Good Monday makers, it's time for another community build roundup. In this week's episode, we're going to be checking out a garden trellis, a toy hauler deck railing, an outdoor shower, a golf enclosure, an HVAC unit railing, a horse carriage canopy, and an adjustable car canopy for camping. All kinds of awesome builds as always. And remember, even if you're not building any of these exact specific builds, you can still learn some techniques and things that you can incorporate into whatever it is that you want to make. With that said, let's jump into today's projects. First up is this awesome box trellis, and this comes from Dave. And if you've heard me talk about trellises in the past, I always say this is the easiest and best design you can make for tomato trellises or any kind of trellis that you want to make for plant supports. It's very simple to do. You just use 90-degree connectors in the corners to make a rectangular box, as you can see here. It's just, I think, 8 total pipes because you have 2 verticals on each side, so 4 verticals, and then you have the 4 pipes that make up the rectangle up top. And it's a pretty simple way to do a trellis, and we've seen this design time and time again. What's really awesome about this one is we're seeing this a year later. So they put it together a year ago, and I think this is a community garden for a school, if I'm not mistaken, which is really cool. And you can see it's loaded down with tomatoes. They're using the tomato hooks that you can get on Amazon and quite a few different places, and basically just bent the rings around the conduit at the top of the trellis, which is a good idea. We've seen that a lot in the community as well. And then here you can see in this video, it is absolutely loaded down with tomatoes, which is really awesome. It's the Sunset Surfers Garden on Instagram, if you want to follow them and see all the stuff they're doing. But it's really awesome to see a trellis loaded down with everything, a year later, and it's holding up great. I think they did say they were having an issue with the trellis kind of sinking down, the weight of the tomatoes kind of pulling the conduit verticals into the ground. And so you could do a couple of things to eliminate that. You could have the vertical go all the way through the soil and actually touch the ground underneath the soil of the bed. You could build a little bit wider so it's on the edge of the garden bed, and then, secure it with 2-hole straps or something to kind of hold it in place. We've also seen people use flanges on the bottom of the verticals with some kind of leveling feet or whatever you want to call them, where you just, get like a 2x4 and just cut a small section and create just kind of a flat foot that kind of keeps it from going down. But there's a few different ideas you can do to eliminate that, but, easy to put together, just a few connectors and, like I said, just a few pipes. So really cool to see. Thanks so much, Dave, for sharing that. Good luck with the garden the rest of the year. Next up is this toy hauler deck railing. This comes from James, or NW Builders, Tucson, Arizona, as you can see there. They have this toy hauler. He said the dealer wanted a lot of money to put a railing around the deck, and he couldn't really find a kit anywhere, so he put one together himself, and it's really awesome. Basically, 3/4 inch EMT conduit with maker pipe connectors, and basically just built this kind of U-shape railing that goes around the toy hauler deck here. And then they just secured some sunshade to the rectangular frames using ball bungees through the grommets. Actually, it might be zip ties. Looks like zip ties, actually, through the grommets of the sunshade. And then they have flanges from maker pipe securing the railing to the actual deck there, as you can see. And basically, I see a lot of T connectors there to make the rectangular shape. And just a really awesome idea and a great way to save money. I think he said, about $300 total invested using conduit and maker pipe. So that's really cool, and a good way to save money and get the railing that he was after. So really cool. Thanks so much for sharing this. We love seeing it. Next up is a really unique project, because this might actually be the first time we've seen this. This is an outdoor shower made out of 1/2-inch Schedule 40, like galvanized plumbing pipe. And they actually built a shower, and it looks like water runs through the pipes in the build, which is really cool and not something that we've seen before. Basically, it's just 4 verticals, and they use the 3/4 inch fittings that we make for 3/4 inch electrical conduit, and the sizing is not really made to fit this kind of pipe, so they had to do a shim here in order for this to work. I believe it's 2 friction bands, or if you have some electrical tape, you can make up the little bit of a difference in diameter and actually build with galvanized plumbing pipe, as they did here. But it's really cool because it's an outdoor shower, and the water, I believe, runs through the pipes in this, which is really cool. Like I said, something we haven't seen before. At least I'm pretty sure, because it looks like, because the verticals go up, and then here you can see you can choose hot or cold water. There's the shower head, and it looks like the water has to come through one of these lower pipes here, which is really cool. They secured it to their deck with, plumbing flanges made for that pipe, and just really awesome to use maker pipe and kind of build this shower, and water actually runs through the build. Super awesome. Really great idea. Thanks so much for sharing sharing that. That comes from John. I really appreciate it. Next up is a golf enclosure, and this comes from Gil. And this is really cool. We've seen quite a few golf enclosures, people building simulators in their garage and things. This one is outdoors, and you can see here it's just a large rectangular box pretty much with 90-degree connectors used in the corners here. Actually, I wonder if they did use 90-degree connectors. There's a little bit that sticks off the front, so I wonder if they use four-way connectors there. Yeah, I imagine that would have to be four-way connectors because there's a vertical that goes up and then a tube that comes out on each side and then one that goes across to the other side. So four-way connectors there, 90-degree connectors in the back corner, and then I imagine it's the same design down here. Yeah, 90s in the corners down here. And then they added some bracing with 45-degree connectors. Looks like all of the tubes are wrapped with pipe insulation. You can also use pool noodles. It's that time of year where pool noodles, you can find them everywhere. They're pretty inexpensive. They're a great solution for builds like this. And then they have some netting that they secured to the frame, as you can see here. And now they're going to be able to practice doing some driving range hits out here, which is really cool. And a great thing to do in the backyard, and just a really awesome project. Thanks so much for sharing this, Gil. We love seeing it. Next up is this HVAC unit railing. You can see here, this is a pretty simple project and a great idea just to add some, safety measures around this. Maybe they have small children or something. Not entirely sure why they put it together. Didn't really share that, but it's a great idea. And they just use 90-degree connectors here in the corner to kind of create this L shape. And then this side has T connectors connecting the horizontal pipes to the vertical here. And then they just use the adjustable angle flanges from Maker Pipe to create the feet for the structure. And it just kind of, I don't think it's secured to the ground or anything. This kind of just provides a foot on uneven ground. You can adjust it. It's the adjustable angle flange, and they just kind of have this sitting here as a guard here around this HVAC unit. Really cool. And you can also add some like enclosure netting here or something like that if you wanted to kind of add a little bit more of a barrier. But really cool idea. This one comes from Michael, and we really appreciate it. Thanks so much for sharing it. Next up is a really unique project. This might be the first horse carriage canopy that we've seen, and this comes from Carl. And basically, this is a horse carriage that he's got, obviously, as you can see here, and basically just added a canopy to this using the adjustable angle flanges in a pretty unique way. It's secured to the side of the horse carriage, and then the adjustable part of the flange is basically creating a 90-degree angle going up, and then they've got two hole straps securing it here. Looks like they used 1/2-inch EMT conduit for the top part of the frame because there's a telescoping clamp here so they can raise this up and down and adjust it. Looks like it goes up, and they created a rectangle up top with T connectors. Looks like a few there. They also have 90-degree connectors in the corners. You could use T connectors here instead of the 90, but I understand why people use the 90 in that way, but you're not really supposed to. So you could use a T connector here, but they've got 90s, and then they've got the sunshade material attached to the frame with, it looks like zip ties. Really awesome. And then the blue tarp or shade matches the blue of the horse carriage and the wheels there, which is really awesome. And just a really cool build just to add some shade to the horse carriage. And, they've got people riding in here, want to provide some shade in a nice summer day. So that's really awesome. Thanks so much, Carl, for sharing this. Really great project. Last but not least is a project from Dead Rise Woodcrafts, or Emmett. Check out his Instagram. He's got a lot of great projects, but this is a really good idea for an adjustable canopy that he put together for Maker Camp this year. It's really cool. Basically attaches half of the tarp to his car there, and then the corners back here he pulls tight and uses Maker Pipe 3/4 inch, or he uses the telescoping clamp that we sell with 3/4 inch EMT and 1/2 inch EMT to create these telescoping poles that hold up the corner of the tarp, and then he anchors them into the ground. It's a really cool idea, and then you can adjust this up and down. You just have to move, undo the telescoping clamp and raise this up or down to adjust it. And then, like I said, it's just anchored into the ground, so that kind of stabilizes the pipes. And then you can adjust this. Just really cool, nice and quick and easy canopy to put up, and it's adjustable, so you can use it all kinds of different ways, based on where the sun is at or what weather's coming through. All kinds of cool things you can do with this, and really simple to do. So really great idea, Emmett. Thanks everybody for posting your projects. As always, if you want to see any of these in more detail, they'll be linked down below. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you in the next video.